Good afternoon, everybody. So it is an absolutely beautiful sunny afternoon. I am on a break from driving the school bus, so I'm trying to hide the bright orange shirt that just looks horrible on me. It's also why my hair's not done, my makeup's not done. I'm gonna leave my glasses on, the whole push. So I wanted to come on because I did a thrift haul yesterday, and it was a good thrift haul, relatively speaking. I did get, I will show you, one of these. You guys know what these are? They are a cutting paddle for sewing. They're made by Singer. Let's see if I can oh, this one's made by Simplicity, I'm sorry. And you can use it, you can cut your patterns out on it. You gotta be really careful though, because it's cardboard, right? So you can cut through it, but it is good for drafting. You lay it out on a table, and then if you're drafting like a pattern, from a PDF, you're able to use all of this gridded marking to scale up. But there was something else in my haul, which wasn't much. It was this and this other thing that I thought, I'm going to make a video about this because I bet there are a lot of people out there that don't know that this exists, because this is kind of a very old school sewing thing. And this is it here. It's called a pinnet and has like legs on the bottom. And this is for, you put some tailor's chalk in here, and this is for marking your skirts where you want to put the hem. And basically you just put the chalk in here and just kind of like scoot around it, and that's it. I mean, the chalk just marks off where you want the hem to go. And I hadn't seen one of these in a really long time. My mom had one that I always loved because it had this other thing that sat on the top, and it had like a little ball thing, and you pushed it, and it like pushed powdered chalk on to your skirt, and you just kept moving around, and that's where your hem went. This is kind of the same principle. I'm not going to keep this. I never really used these, but it was fascinating to me that I even found one, because this has got to be, I'm going to say, it's a pinnet, which is an older model. I'm going to say 60s, and that's only because of this here. See this color here? This is a very industrial, like high school home ec kind of color. So I think that this pinnet is probably at least from the 60s. But I was just really surprised to even see it, and see it moves up and down. You can go up however high you need to go to where your height is. And that's it. You use it to mark your skirt, and it's just such a cool thing. It's, sewing archaeology, right? Like, there were probably women that had these because so many women sewed all or most of their clothes. It's amazing. And now, it probably sat in this Goodwill for days because nobody knew what the hell it was. Some kind of a ruler, right? They're looking at it going, oh yeah, it's some kind of a ruler. Oh, and it was just really crazy to me that this was like just sitting in Goodwill. So I'm not going to keep it. I'm going to put it up on my Etsy page, but still, I just thought it was really cool. And the fact that it's the brand Pinnet. Let me see if I can get close to the graphics. There's the graphics. Pinnet skirt marker. So I thought I would just come on and talk about this because I wondered how many people even knew what this was. And it's a cool thing. If you want to use it, I'm going to put it right back here for a minute. There we go, our lovely pinnet. And let's talk about some of the blouses I've been making. So I've been working on this one, right? And remember, the simple to make was what the copywriters who work for Simplicity said. Let me tell you, this isn't simple to make. And I'm going to tell you why it's not simple to make. First of all, it has so many like bells and whistles and like gimmicks that it would have been easier just to make a regular shirt with set-in sleeves. This whole thing, I don't know if you guys can see it. You can kind of see it on the model. See all this? This is all open. So I got like basically the whole dress together, and the only thing I hadn't done is I hadn't added, there are ties that are supposed to go around the back over this like yoke piece with the ruffle. I hadn't gotten that together, but I was just like trying it on to see, you know, even when I like pulled it back like this, you could still see my bra, my armpit, my back fat, like all the stuff you don't want to see, right? And then on top of this thing here, this is crazy, this placket thing, you have to sew the facing for this placket, and then you flip it and you cut downward before you flip it, right? So this is like two pieces that are sewn together, but they're closed, and then you like sew down and you pink it and you're supposed to flip it. I don't know how. I managed to actually, when I was doing that, clip a piece of the front of the shirt. Thankfully, it was like over here, like in this little part, so I was able to sew over it, and I'm gonna like, I have like this wood button, this one vintage wood button. I'm gonna add it to the front and try and save it. But this is now becoming like this incredibly difficult thing to sew, because as soon as I realized how open the arms were, I was like, I'm not gonna, you know, I'm gonna sew the sides closed. It's too revealing. So I'm gonna sew the sides closed. Like I said before, I was gonna try and salvage those sleeves. So I'm gonna try and salvage the sleeves instead of having a ruffle or have an open sleeve here. But this thing, all right, first of all, it goes over the top, so it has ties in the back. And it has this whole placket situation here that is the V-neck that you have to do a facing, and so the facing to the front, and then flip it in and cut it, all that stuff, right? Which obviously you can make the mistake of cutting through your front shirt fabric, which is what I did. Then you have two buttons that connected at the side, but they connected so low that it's still too open. Then there's a set of small ties, kind of like the interior tie of like a wrap dress, a little thin tie that you also tie. Then, I mean, it was just like, okay, how is this an easy pattern if you have buttons, ties, another set of ties, ruffles on the sleeves, ruffles on the bottom, this weird interfacing that has to be flipped and then cut, and you have to make sure you, yeah. It would have been easier for me to take that fabric and just make a really basic short sleeve camp shirt and make it into like a, I don't know, like a regular tropical, you know, Hawaiian style shirt. I should have actually just taken the original muumuu and just cut it down and just made it into like a besan blouse or something. But no, I had to try and upcycle it into this, and it's just not great. I didn't film myself making it. If you're interested in this and interested in like kind of the problems with it, there was a woman on line. The name of her channel is Green Acres Vintage, and she did D. Now you can see D in the picture doesn't have the ruffled sleeves. She did the same thing I did. She tried it on and was like, it's too open. Sewed up the sides because it was just too open. So that's kind of my review of this. I'm going to try and, I might put this aside for a little bit. I hate to make it a UFO because it's like my first shirt in, you know, February, but we're already like, what's today, the 10th? We're already like the 10th of February. I'm still working on this damn shirt because, and it's supposed to be easy to make because it has so much crap going on. So this might go in the UFO pile. I hate to say it. I hate to do that. But because I really want to start working on my next project, which is, hold on, it's right here. Ta-da! I want to start working on my next project, which is this with the fabulous Christmas. I love this. I love this fabric. Somebody made a comment about how pretty this is, and I said, I've never been in love with the fabric so much, but I want to start working on this with this pattern. It was funny, as I was working with this pattern, I got this thought in my head, and I realized I just like out of the blue thought to myself, oh, I hate simplicity patterns. And then I started to think about it, and I never used simplicity patterns back in the day. In fact, I was a snob. I only used Vogue. And I started to remember this because I remember one time going with my mom. Now you have to remember I'm a teenager at the time. So I'm not buying my own patterns. And my mother complaining, she was like, you always have to have the most expensive patterns. Because I was always getting the Vogue patterns, and we used to go to these places we used to go to Joann's, but there was something else before Joann's, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was around in the 80s, and it was like Joann's, and I can't remember the name of it anymore, but I remember you bought patterns there, and they just had, like, you know, the wall of patterns. Back in the old days, there were more pattern companies. I just remember there were other pattern companies. I can't remember the names of them anymore, but there were other pattern companies. And there were also more patterns. Like the Vogue book was this thick. The Simplicity book was this thick. The Butterick, the McCalls, all of them were these huge, thick books. Like every kind of garment you could possibly imagine. Plus you had Berta, and then Quick Sew started in like early 80s, around that time. And that was the new like serger revolution. Everybody was buying sergers, and they were doing all this knitwear. And so there were all these companies, but like as I was doing this and I'm going, man, I hate Simplicity Patterns, I started to think to myself, wait a minute, I never used to buy Simplicity Patterns. I used to dislike them even when I was a teenager, right? So, you know, not that I'm blaming the Simplicity Pattern, but I'm blaming the Simplicity Pattern. Yeah, because this is not easy to make. So I'm going to try and finish it because I don't want to make it a UFO, but then I want to go on to making this Vogue pattern. So I'll catch you guys up. Hopefully I'm going to get my my Redbird vintage box soon. I've been tracking it, and it looks like I'm going to get it probably this weekend. So the next video will probably be my Redbird vintage unboxing, and I promise to get all dressed up and look nice and fancy for that video. But I just wanted to come on and talk about the Pinnet, because I couldn't believe I found one of these. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Please like, subscribe, comment. You know I love comments. And yeah. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.